On the Jacob Viewer Show, I am so happy to be joined by Craig Newmark, of course, the founder of Craigslist. But before we get into the interview, I just want to give a quick shout out to AJ's, which is a restaurant at Purdue University off Vine Street. If you're ever visiting, Craig, you will definitely have to eat there.
Oh, if I ever visit, I'll definitely eat there.
So take me through how did you get involved with entrepreneurship? Um, you worked at IBM. You went to computer science school, you got that tech background, you moved to San Francisco. Take me through your journey after that when you were like, I want to start something on my own.
Well, I didn't put as much conscious thought as you're thinking into it. Basically, around the end of my time at Charles Schwab, I kept thinking about how much people on the internet, even in '94, had helped me out. Because I was spending a lot of time on the internet, going around the company telling people at Charles Schwab, here's how we would do business someday. I was one of two people doing that. And when I was let go at Schwab, I realized that something I was remiss in doing is sharing what I had learned, what I had found out with a lot of the people who had helped me out. And I figured I needed to connect with people better. So I started a simple email list and then just kept listening to people, trying to do what people wanted. It just kept growing and growing. And at one point, I had to turn it into a list server, and list server lists need names. I mean, I was going to call it San Francisco Events since it was still mostly events, but people around me told me they were already calling it Craigslist, that I had inadvertently created a brand. They explained to me what a brand is, which I didn't know, and they were right. And that's, in a way, part of your answer about my entrepreneurship. This has all been, from my point of view, a series of happy accidents. I mean, I ran the thing by myself for a few years. And towards the end of those few years, people were telling me they wanted to pay me for ads because they were more effective than where they were paying a lot more money. Tried doing it with volunteers for a year. That was '98. That didn't work out so well. And so in '99, I made it into a real company. But this was me reacting to feedback from people rather than any real business or entrepreneurship knowledge I had. I did make a odd decision at the end of '98, '99. VCs and bankers wanted to throw billions of dollars at me, 11 billion by the most recent estimate. And I decided I should follow through with what I believed from Sunday school. I should know when enough is enough. So that's when I decided Craigslist would have a minimal monetization model, which is the opposite of most entrepreneurship. And then in around a year or two, people helped me understand that as a manager, I suck. So I figured I would step down from management completely, hired this guy, Jim Buckmaster, and he has been a better entrepreneur than I was. I tell people that any success I've had in entrepreneurship or business has been by accidentally being in the right time and place, making me the Forrest Gump of the internet. And that's deeply true. Jim has done a better job.
So, of course, you talk about leadership in that. You talked about knowing when enough is enough. Obviously, I know you've shared that Sunday school story before. Would you say that entrepreneurship then comes more naturally, or is it more gifted and you got to be the smartest person in the room? Because, when you think about it, sometimes somebody who's 5'5" is going to play basketball and practice harder than somebody that's 6'5", but they don't have the advantage. There is that natural talent still. Do you see natural talent in entrepreneurship?
I plain don't know because My personal history, which is really all I know, is oh, it's just a series of happy accidents and maybe a few good decisions built in there. Um, I don't know if entrepreneurship can be taught or if it's learned. I do see something about leadership, which is related and partially answers your question. There are very few natural leaders. Sometimes people manage to learn it on their own. And I had maybe a couple of them at IBM in 17 years. And IBM tries really hard to train people to be good managers, but it seems that someone has to have a knack for leadership, specifically for the kind of top down leadership, which is what we usually think of when we say leadership. Me, I may have a talent for leading by example, which is something I was trained for at IBM, and maybe I'm finally now doing in the last 20 or more years at Craigslist. So I don't know about entrepreneurship. I know a little bit about leadership, and there you have to have a knack for it. And maybe people can learn that, maybe not. My focus is on leading by example. The way I'm taking that forward in my world is basically building networks of networks to lead the country in areas I think are important, like better support for military families and vets, and figuring out how, as a country, we can mobilize where we all can protect ourselves in the country when it comes to cyber attacks and stuff like scams.
People are losing a lot of money off scams these days.
Yeah, and I've been working actively but intermittently on that for around 25 years. I've been pretty shy to talk about it because the area where I've experienced the worst attacks have been when I've been actively crime fighting and fighting scams specifically. The problem is that people who are good at scams online, in particular, they're good at scams because they're great talkers. They can't do much of anything except tell a good story, and I just really, really suck at that. So that's why I'm building networks of people who can help. I have meetings with people who can help on a nearly daily basis.
Which is just amazing. And then obviously you do a lot of good things for military families. And during COVID especially, I saw you delivered meals and things like that. So I appreciate all the good work that you've done. I've interviewed a lot of people in business, but you're one that certainly has given a lot back. So that's something I really admire about you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm one of a number of people doing good work like along those lines. Kara Swisher on her podcast interviewed the guy from Patagonia who's done much more of the same, and that's worth listening to.
For sure. Thank you for pointing that out. Maybe we'll have to do an interview. Um, so you mentioned cyber attacks. We now live in an AI world. Do you still see cyber attacks common in the AI world, and how do you think AI is going to go? Do you think AI has peaked?
Um, Several different questions in that one. I think AI will be able to both launch offensive cyber attacks. It'll help people do that. And then it will help people defend against cyber attacks. There's a lot of talk about that so far, although I've seen very few specifics.
And then do you think that AI has peaked, or do you think we're going to see things like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Grok on X. Obviously, Google has AI now. Microsoft, a lot of them. Do you think it's peaked, or do you think this is going to be a much bigger thing than the dot-com boom?
I'm going to give you an answer, which is both. AI will be a really important part in a lot of stuff we do every day, but I think we are in a bubble. and a lot of early investors are going to be disappointed.
Wow. Early investors will be disappointed. Wow, I didn't.
Well, a lot of them. Some people think half will do really well and half will lose a lot of money. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff based on what I've read and also my intuition, because we've seen a lot of stuff before where people overinvest at the beginning, and some of it works great and some of it doesn't. One good result of this may be that I'll have a lot more energy available to us in the country, and we can switch it to the kind of energy that's renewable. And the problem is that right now, apparently, the Chinese government is way ahead of us.
Yeah, they created DeepSeek and that came out pretty quickly. I want to say earlier this year or last year, right after ChatGPT and OpenAI. Something else that I'm very curious about is when after Craigslist became a household name, global name, in the late 2000s, early 2000s, you saw Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, several social media apps that kind of use a concept like Craigslist in ways. I'm curious, did people like Mark Zuckerberg or the Google founders or the Instagram founders, did any of them ever reach out to you for guidance? Because in a way, you were kind of the godfather of this movement before it was
Um,
there.
Usually, the big guys didn't ask much for guidance because they were pretty sure they knew what they had to do. And also, they may not have heard me telling them to carefully consider the effects of their stuff on their customers. Usually, I got approached more by small and medium sized guys, and that's fine because that's not more naturally my people. I mean, I tend to identify with the people who never get much of an opportunity. And more as I reflect on my entire history, man, I realize that I have the tastes and attitudes of a peasant. And that's maybe in some respects helped me make some of the decisions I have. I'm now doing extremely well financially, but that doesn't mean I have to buy expensive stuff all the time. And I'm impressed by the people who've made a lot of money, like the Patagonian guy or Sam Walton. They've made a lot of money, but it hasn't changed them. And that's a big deal because Scott Galloway, who works with Kara, I think he was the one who said that power corrupts and money makes you stupid. Don't take that too literally. But I have seen specific cases where money makes people stupid.
Wow. And speaking of money, there's a lot of money in San Francisco. A lot of young entrepreneurs are still going there. Um, How have you seen San Francisco change or the state of California from a tech standpoint in the last 20 years since you launched Craigslist?
Um, I think there's a lot of money that's flown into the area, and that's changed people. Sometimes too much money helps people forget that they should consider their customers first. Um, some people feel that you have to first think of your shareholders, although that's a misinterpretation of Delaware law. But I think there needs to be a balance of these things. And now that I do a lot more reading and thinking about how people should treat each other, there really should be a better balance between the needs of shareholders and the needs of customers and the needs of the country. I'm still thinking about that a lot more. I've read some words recently to the effect that what a person should think about is doing is selling their possessions and giving the money to the poor. And I've already done a lot of that. Maybe I do need to do a lot more of that.
Wow. I mean, hearing this from somebody like yourself who's been on the Forbes list and obviously to a lot of people would be considered wealthy and well off. And it's great to hear how you want to have a positive change on the world.
Okay. I appreciate that. The Forbes list stuff, though, was based on incorrect data that a entity, well, let's say their focus is on incorrect data. And I've never been a billionaire. It turns out that as far as I could tell, though, when I gave away my Craigslist shares into a C4, 501c4 charity, the value of those shares have increased substantially. And my pretty half-assed investments may grow to a billion over the next 20 years. Because even if your monies are only generating interest, compound interest really does work.
Wow, and that's great to hear your perspective because everybody sees the term billionaire on Forbes, and a lot of the money is not there in liquid. It's in stocks or bonds or things like that. So,
Yeah,
and then
I
kind
would
of my
take, well, anytime you see a number involving Craigslist revenue or Maya revenue, take it with a huge grain of salt because there's now more misinformation out there than real stuff.
thanks for sharing. And then kind of my last thing to close is what do you hope is your legacy?
Um, my legacy halfway is already here. That is, Craigslist has helped put food on the table of tens of millions of Americans, but also Craigslist helped get a lot of people onto the net by showing people that the internet can do something useful and it can be reasonably easy to do the useful stuff. Looking ahead, I hope that I've helped make the lives of a lot of military families and vets a lot better, and that I hope that I've helped protect the country, everyone, against cyber attacks and online crime, particularly scams.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today, giving input, clearing some things up that might have been misinformation. So thank you so much for joining.
I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to eating at AJ's.